I thought I'd start with this picture of my pie. There's pie under there, pumpkin pie, has leftovers still. And this is how you have it. But there's a lot of pie under there, not just whipped cream. It's my pie. Anyway, why am I here at the moment, right? So I decided that I am going to, I've been wanting to do this for a while. I wanted to follow some Bob Ross tutorials. And I thought, why not video them and see, you know, it's a lot harder than it looks. I've seen a lot of people trying to do this, and I've wanted to do this for years. So long that I went to go look up the videos, and they're no longer on Netflix. Great. So, I guess I'll start with what I'll be using today, because part of this too is Michelle needs to go through her paints and get rid of a bunch that are old and gone and cannot be revived, and clean up stuff. And why not use Bob Ross paints? So the first thing, I won't be using oil. I'll be using acrylics. I don't use oil. I can't handle the extra stuff it takes to deal with oil, so not my thing. But I've been using acrylics for years. So the first thing that I have and need is, of course, a cup of water. And these are my notes. And a palette. This is a wet palette by Army Painter. I've been doing miniature painting, if you've seen some of my miniature painting videos, which I still haven't finished some of them. By Army Paper, you put, or by Army Painter. So I was first introduced to these in there. But you put the sponge in the bottom and one of these pieces of parchment paper in there, and it helps keep your paint wet. And going, I have squirt bottles to add more water to it and to paint as needed. My gunk, it's a mixture of floatings and blending mediums and some other stuff, water, which helps my paint last longer. So let's see here. Paints. So for liquid white, I have this Folk Art Gesso. Yeah, you guys are going to be disappointed in the quality of the paints. Just know that now. Of course, I wrote down. So I'm going to do episode 1, season 1. So very first one of his paintings or his series. So, so he has titanium white. I have my apple barrel acrylic. This has lasted me a good long time, but it's nearly done. So, and then let's see. He had phthalo green and sap green, and so I have sap green here. Folk Art. They're artist pigments. And for phthalo green, I'm going to be using this leaf green. If I do more of these, you're going to see like the wrong colors picked. It's just going to happen. I'm trying to go through these. This leaf green is almost done. And then he had his Van Dyke brown. I have this brown oxide, which might already be done, and I might have to go get a different one. We'll see. And then he used Alzarian Crimson, but I'm going to be using Naphthol Crimson. Cad Yellow, I'm going to be using School Bus Yellow. Permanent Red, I'm going to be using Cardinal Red. And for Prussian Blue, I'm going to be using 2 Blue from Apple Barrel. So I have my paints. And then brushes. In this one, he doesn't use too many. He uses his, I have one of my palette knives similar to the shape of the one that he uses right here. And then he uses a 2-inch. This is my faithful Gesso brush. This is just for slapping shit down. It's not for anything. I won't be using it for the main painting because I'm going to be doing it on a much smaller canvas too. So I have my canvas prepped here. But, so I don't know if I'm going to use, if I'm going to try to use the same, because I have he used a 2-inch and a 1-inch brush. I have 1.5, a really nice one here that I haven't used yet. But he used that in a fine liner, but I also have these really good ones here. So it's probably going to be a combination of some of these. Let's see. But yeah. So, come on, focus. So I have that. I have my doggos pushing me out of my seat. Quibble. Let's see. There's Quibble. There, size comparison. The tiny dog, the tiny 10-pound dog, and the size of everything. Come on. Focus. Why are we not focusing? Okay. Movement. So I'm going to go get my palette filled up and wheel my chair out of the way. And then we'll get started. Okay, so I'm actually gonna, let me move this for a second. Talk a little bit more about this and fill it here, I decided. I was introduced to wet palettes way back when, and they've been around for a while. And they're usually like these big things. You'll see different tutorials with pads and stuff. But they started showing up in the miniature community, and we all kind of had, I had like this like Tupperware kind of dish filled with paper towels and a sponge, and I actually put the paint directly on the sponge, which somebody saw me doing once, and they took away my brushes and snapped them and yelled at me. So they were sure I was going to destroy my brushes, though I never did because I was very careful to only use them in a certain way and not push against the paint. And I've never been as satisfied, so I thought I'd try this one. But I did get something made for it before. I have this Private Tier Press P3 wet palette, and it's just like you don't want to, you know, do that. But all it is this sponge, actually the exact same type of sponge that you find in like miniature boxes and a lot of gaming stuff. But it's pretty deep, and this is the type of sponge I used before, but I used it on top with the water being kept in with paper towels, and I've kept thinking about going back to that because what I find is that the paper dries out, and then you're like, and this is the paper that goes with it. Again, just parchment paper that just tears out, and it just goes right on top, and everything, and keeping it wet. So I've been using this for years, and everything, but I don't know. It hasn't been my favorite. It was not as good as the one that person destroyed when they saw me using it. This one is a bit different, so it has this this keeps it together, this band, and it has actually a place where you can store your brushes and like a little palette area. I'm probably not going to be using this. So I'm just going to be using this part. I don't do as much traveling right now, of course, so doing this. But what's really different is that the sponge is really thin, and it's like this memory foam kind of, and even just taking it out of the packaging. And it did come with an extra one of these, which I thought was interesting. So I don't know how long it's supposed to last, but it feels kind of wet already, which is weird. But I'm going to go ahead and get my water bottle here. I love these things. And I'll probably not have enough water as I sit here and think about that. I have more water, but I might have another one. See, like already, but like It's soaking up the water really good, which is good. It still has that from being folded in the packaging. Where did my, oh, there it is. Sorry, the dogs are shaking me around. Hey, Kurt, stop. I'm just gonna, there we go. Because it said, the directions said to just get it so it's wet. There we go. So I have that. I do have my other squirt bottle full of water to fill it up as needed. And we'll just take this and just smooth it on down. Get rid of any air bubbles. So I do say, like, compared to like my other one already, that it sticks really well. The other one always curled up like right away, and you were like fighting as it slowly curled, and you try to wet it down again, but it would never like kind of stay wet. So this is actually kind of nice. So new palette, yay! Go. And it's pretty smooth, though. I am going to get my trusty which. Thanks, dog. All rude noises are my dog. Or my dogs. Oh my gosh. Okay, lots of white. That's probably too much white. He always has a lot of white on his palette, so it's okay. I think we'll do the reds. Oh, that one's juicy. So bright. It's the crimson, the Naphthol crimson. The other one was the cardinal red. Oh gosh, this actually might be done, and I might have to get another one. Let's see. I might have to go get another red for cat yellow. It's always that first bit. Like, you got it. Come on, paint. That's a lot of paint. I will say that one thing with these is that uh-oh, we're losing focus. There we go. Autofocus on. There we go. Is that with these have always been like really hard. Hey, excuse you. He came back. He snuck up here. He does this. He thinks this is a puppy highway. Oh my god, you guys. Okay. Enough. If you want to come on. Then you gotta sit. You can't stand. You have to sit in the chair. Sorry. No. Sit down. All the way. Oh, I have a pillow that I stuff in my chair because my chair's pretty big because of just this. And sometimes he knocks it off. Cool. Okay, we're gonna get started. So many puppy shenanigans. We totally are. Okay. Lay down. Okay, you're coming too. Come on. Oh. There we go. Puppies everywhere. I'm probably covered in red paint now. No. Okay. Yeah. So where did I just do with the brown? Okay. Here we go. This is one of my favorite browns. I do love it. Can't get it open. Uh-oh. But this paint is really old now, and I need to use it up. So that's why we're doing this. Okay. Can't open the top. So we'll just get some brown up here. Ooh, too much. Okay. Way too much. Here we go. The other reason why doing it on this is good, though, is because this will keep some of this wet, so I can keep using it for the next painting and the next painting, which is what, ironically, Bob Ross says in that first few minutes. So, he doesn't use a lot of blue in this, but he uses some. I think Prussian blue is actually darker, but it is what it is. You can't see me here like shaking the crap out of these. Because with these ones, that's what you do. Go. And my other green. I wonder why this is sap green. Alright. Okay, so I have paint. Sometimes way too much paint. And I have my canvas, and it's time to get started. So I'm just gonna arrange things a little bit easier. And here we go. So if my paints come out a bit thick, I would probably put a little bit of gunk on them. But they didn't really, so actually we're gonna go this way. There we go. So I'm not going to do yet, but you might see me do that here. We're gonna put the impressive red up here. Arrange everything. I'm still cleaning off all my stuff. Okay, here's my paper towel. I don't have coffee right now, but I do have a drink over here, so nothing needs to go. Oh, and there goes my extremely runny thing right into the white. It's great. Wow, at least y'all got to see that, me running the colors because I wasn't paying attention. Alright, I've rearranged the dogs, I've rearranged my paints. I would like to move this notepad because it's actually causing issues. Alright. Go up here it goes. Alright, here we go. Get this ready because it's one of the first things he says to do. Okay, so I get started here by putting some gesso on things. This is actually kind of a mistake I'm finding with acrylic. It makes the surface too wet, and that's the biggest mistake I'm going to be making here. Is my paint is too wet. I shouldn't be using the wet palette. I should be using thicker paint, and right away, let us see. In the background here, and it looks okay right now. I'm having some trouble with blending, as well as getting water off the brush. I went with his suggestion to be using like a real bristle brush, and it holds too much water. So that's where we're starting to get a problem here. And I also don't have a place to really beat it off or dry it. I have to like squeeze it out, and that's a problem I'm having right now. I'm not getting the same dark colors he is. Obviously, I'm not using the same type of paint, so that's an issue that we kind of have to deal with here. But okay, yeah, you know, red's not too big of a deal. It looks pretty bad, and I can't get like the fine details he does. Again, a lot of that has to do with how wet the paint is and how much water I'm dealing with here. When I do switch to the palette knife, that's actually a lot of fun and pretty much behaves the same way. I'm still learning about holding the paint on there, but I'm getting the effect that I want, which, prior to this, I never really used a palette knife for painting, just for mixing paint. So switching to this kind of like wedge palette knife and doing this was a lot of fun. And this is something I'm probably going to continue to do in painting, just because it did work really well and gave me some really nifty effects. So I'm going back in to add highlights and detail, but again, my brush is too wet, the paint is too wet. It really needs to be really thick and dry for this process, which is really funny because I've never painted the oils, so I don't know if it's just a difference in how oils behave, which it probably is. You know, all paints, different types of paints deal differently. But I'm starting to get the green in there, but I really have no depth in this painting, which kind of sucks. And where his look like detailed trees at the end, mine are looking like a bloody mess. So I'm going in and trying to put in the path. And again, it's just really not working as well as I like. When I try to put in the little green bits to like set that path in the painting like Ross says, it's not happening. So I switch here to a different color paint to try to make that work. And it does a little bit, but not as well as I would have liked. Here I'm struggling. I only had 2 brushes really to work with of the size that Bob Ross suggests, and I'm actually switching to the nylon brush, which actually helps get some of that. I totally mess up here, and again, the paint is too wet. I am not getting the same effect he is into his water, and I've really just muddied everything out. So when I come back in here with the palette knife and try to get some land back in there, it actually looks fairly nice. I actually kind of like the effect it's going. But for my first attempt, again, I don't have really good depth in the painting. My palette knife control needs a lot of work. Here I'm doing the thing where he scrapes into the painting. And yeah, it's happening. But I am enjoying doing the foreground more. Unfortunately here, when I go back, I should have let the paint dry for a bit, honestly. Because when I go back in to put some of the foreground greenery, I start muddying things up pretty quickly. And that's not too happy. Oh, this trick where you put the white down wherever the water is just like really cool. Like, that just makes a lot of use for me. But I go in trying to fix some of the greenery, make it look interesting, and honestly, and this is where he puts a lot of like foreground trees in, and I had to stop doing that for a while in some of the future paintings because, again, I'm having such a problem here. It just kind of messed things up. And where he leaves things unmixed and gets like a mixed thing working on the canvas, it didn't really work out for me. So I get a little better depth in the bottom foreground, but the top still looks flat, and it doesn't help that I put those other trees there up on the right. I try to go back in with a darker green and try to get some of that to go in, but it just looks like I spilled paint on the canvas.